Check, check. How we sounding? We'll get started here in a minute. All right. Sounds good. Looks good. What the hell? Hold on. Sorry about this. I'm going to give this a minute. I had to restart the computer and reopen the streaming software. It all looked good when I tested it out, but how's that? I'm going to try to full screen it. It's possible I might not be able to full screen. And if that's it, we're just going to be a little cut off and we'll just work with that. Sorry about the delay. We'll get started here in a minute. Yep, it's doing. Looks like it's working. Let me just test that one more time. So strange. All right, we're good to go. Sorry about the delay. Like I said, I had to restart the computer, reopen the streaming software, but we'll get going now. Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a lot of things crypto, talk about some technical analysis with various stocks or cryptos if you are interested. So if you have any questions or comments, you can put it below. If there's an altcoin or stock you're interested in having a conversation about, I'm more than happy to segue to your comments. But let's just get started with fear and greed as far as stocks and crypto. What's up, Martin from Poland? Hope you are doing well. And I hope there's no more drones coming your way. CNN, fear and greed, stocks. We are in neutral territory. Both crypto and stocks coming back up towards greed territory. So fell down into neutrality, getting a little bounce right here. We'll take a look at the chart, see if it's a move that's looking good as far as structure goes, or if it's just a lower high. But as far as fear and greed, still watching this minor descending trend here. Let's get into some charts real quick for the stock market. Give you a quick recap as far as what I talked about in the stock video yesterday, and I believe we're in something like this where we had that top in July. We're seeing this top around mid-September and possibly getting a flush later. It does seem very likely that the Fed is going to cut rates. I read somewhere that they are going to cut, and that with PPI coming in negative, I think CPI came in a touch positive, that the odds are it'll be 25 basis points. We'll see. Last time they did a rate cut cycle, I believe that was last year already, they cut by 50 basis points. Didn't mean in October, and then they cut by 25 basis points for a few more times. So there's an average of 25 basis point cuts, and we'll go to this chart right here that shows when we have an average of 25 basis point cuts, it's still in the near term pretty good for the market overall. And so it doesn't include the 2024 cut cycle. But I think the point stands that when we're getting 50 basis point cuts or higher, watch out, part of the economy is probably broken. And as far as years of the presidential cycle, they end up being the most negative. Next year is a year to watch out for. 2026 midterm year. As far as 2025, we're still doing good. We're still doing just fine. But as far as the crypto 4-year cycle, yield curves, a lot of things, even unemployment possibly ticking up. It seems like a lot of things are converging to make this actually true that the next year, 2026, may not be the best year. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And as far as if that happens, here at Market Psychology, I try to offer perspective because we are retail, and retail usually buys based off emotions, and I want us to use our thinking brains as much as possible. That's why I encourage this community conversation. And one of these charts right here, it's one of my top favorite charts that I've ever seen, is that when we get these pullbacks in the S&P, how rare of an opportunity that is. Instead of seeing all the news about how red and bad and awful things are and being scared of the market at those times, that we take a look at that as opportunities. People want to say they'll buy high or buy low, sell high, but they buy high and sell low. One of the indicators we've been keeping an eye on is the Schiller PE. It has been ticking up lately. We are so close to being over 40. We've been talking about this 40 number, comparing this AI bubble to the dot-com bubble back here in the late 90s. And as you can see, that Schiller PE ratio in the dot-com bubble topped out at around 44. So things are getting a bit overvalued, and that is something to be aware of. Let's go to the crypto side of things, because that's what you guys are here for. Bitcoin at 2.3 trillion market cap, Ethereum 550 billion. Fear and greed, we talked about that. Seasonality, this is important to talk about because August, we just had a negative August, first negative month in a while. February was obviously awful. We had the tariff scare and everything. But recently, August came in red, sort of as predicted. And September doesn't tend to be too great as well. So October and November, which is historically been pretty good, those are the months to look forward to. Let's take a look at this chart. We've been talking about for maybe the last month now how we are in phase 2. Ethereum paired against Bitcoin really does look like it bottomed against Bitcoin, in that it is now increasing its value compared to Bitcoin. And so we are in phase 2, and we'll soon be getting into phase 3, probably sometime later this year, I think in Q4. Phase 4, I'll say this every time we take a look at this chart, we need Bitcoin to top. Last 2 cycles, once Bitcoin tops, once Bitcoin is too expensive to keep buying, from that point, the last 2 cycles are about 2 to 4 weeks where you get this massive rotation from Bitcoin into altcoins. Hopefully your altcoin. And if you are one of the chosen ones, that's when we get alt season, and that is when we have the top of the cycle. So be on the lookout for that. If all of a sudden Bitcoin dominance, we'll get into the charts, is starting to tank, get into the 40 percentile, you do have to watch out, be careful. Talk about this every video just for a few seconds, that expect pullbacks on the way to the top and look at those as buy the dip opportunities until Bitcoin tops, until we get all four of those phases. As far as altcoin year, let's refresh this. Excuse me. Altcoin year still relatively low compared to Bitcoin. And as far as the Bitcoin rainbow chart, let's zoom in here. It is looking like it's forming a nice base in that yellow area at around, if we just go to middle of September, that yellow zone is at around 107K, as high as 140K. As soon as we're getting in the orange zones, I think at any time we could see a potential top. Let's go to mid-December. And I want you to pay attention to the orange zones because we do see these peaks of each cycle regress, and this is a log regression. You can see that more so from the old rainbow chart. Okay, there's always a regression. And so if we just take the trend of the regression, go somewhere like mid-December, those orange boxes between 150 to 250K Bitcoin. I know that is a big range. I'll just take the number in the middle. 200K Bitcoin, give or take, is an area I am looking for a potential Bitcoin cycle top this time around. Are we going to get another 4-year cycle where every 4 years you can see we have the cycle top between the halvings? This was December 2013. This was December 2017. Okay, 4 years. And then we had November 21. Alt season was here, but we did have different conditions. We had a lot of quantitative easing, money being printed out of thin air, trillions of dollars, stimulus checks. So that time was a little bit different. So if we get that again, and we get that average rate of regression, maybe somewhere in those orange boxes around 200K, could be a potential Bitcoin top. On my channel, I talk about different altcoins and crypto assets. We've been talking about Bitcoin mining stocks a lot lately, and so subscribe to hear more about that. Let's get into Bitcoin. Now, we're on the daily here, and we've been talking about this inverse head and shoulders for a while, how we broke above it, then came back down, tested some support. If you take our Fibonacci retracement, low to high, we had a 618 pullback. 618 pullbacks are really good for finding a base, as long as it is the base. And I was talking about how we were having a battle between around 110 and 114. Bitcoin is not only breaking above that 114.382, it's getting above that trend line. And so I think this is a nice bullish move. Could we come back down and get to that 200-day moving average if there was some September seasonality? You know, does September have to be bearish all because it's been bearish before? No. Conditions are different every year. However, I think it's important to be prepared for that just in case. And this 102, this is the 1618 fib line when we go from the macro high to low from the last cycle. That 1618 fib extension, which used to be an all-time high area, I think that 102 to 104, which is where the 200-day moving average is a really good area to look for great value. I'm not saying Bitcoin will get there, but if it does, for me, I will not miss that opportunity if it gets there. I do like what Bitcoin's doing right now, though, as far as this chart is concerned. And let's move over here to the weekly. The 50-week moving average, that has been an area where Bitcoin tests the lows. If we did get all the way down there, the 50-week moving average, if we did get down to 102K 50, we could probably meet up there. Let's take a look at our buy-sell signal real quick. And we have a green weekly buy signal. So the Heikin-Ashi candles are flipping green and positive. That tends to be a good thing. Marathon, been keeping an eye on this one as a possible play. A lot of resistance here, but I am keeping an eye on that mining stock as a possible dip buying opportunity. All right, Let's get into some of our other macro indicators. We'll turn on the stochastic RSI as well as the MACD. Take a look at that. Stochastic RSI on the weekly is sort of bottoming out. It hasn't completely bottomed. These RSIs and MACD, it can play out for a while. What I do like with the MACD is maybe it's bottoming out. I want to see some confirmation. I want to see the blue flip above the orange on the stochastic, and I want to see the MACD just flip up a little bit more. But as far as Heikin-Ashis go, we have a buy signal, which could be a very good thing. Let's take a look at the MACD and the stochastic on the monthly. So far, I think that's still pretty positive. However, the monthly, this is somewhat concerning. Stochastic shows it could still go higher, but the MACD, is showing some weakness. I like the ultimate RSI as far as taking a look at the monthly, because it's a good area to look for where potential peaks are, whether you're going horizontal here. But if we draw a trend line, and we've done this a number of times, from where those tops are for Bitcoin, and this massive amount of bearish divergence, if you will, we haven't even got there. We haven't got there on the ultimate RSI. I take a look at the bubble risk indicator too. Obviously, these peaks are going to be a little lower each time. You can see last time bubble risk indicator got up to 66, 2017 around 80. So, whether it's another 14, 15 points lower, let's just say 50. Are we anywhere near 50? March 24, it's around 40. So if all of a sudden we're getting euphoric Q4 at around 50, that'd be a good area to look for top. Now, one of the things I was looking at recently, we were talking about potential Bitcoin cycle tops. Okay, now if you missed the start of the video, it's talking about, again, the rainbow chart, how we have this range, that those orange bands. I'm looking at that range somewhere in the middle, around 200K Bitcoin being a potential top. There's other data points that line up with this. We have the 3618 just above there, and the 2618 at around 155. So if we got close to the 3618, I'd say, all right, great. Now, some other indicators we have that line up with this are the pi cycle, upper moving average, and the log regression. And you see how Bitcoin tops in this log regression. Again, that's another way of looking at a rainbow chart in real time here. But where does the upper area of this log regression and that pi cycle moving average go to? Right around 200K, the area that we were just talking about. So there's a lot of convergence here around 200K. And I was wondering, could we get a move that big from where we are right now? Is that possible? And we were taking a look in one of the crypto videos earlier this week. Let's go to the daily just to prove this point. Got to take off the log regression. There we go. Let's go to here. And when we did reach that upper pi cycle moving average from where that move started, I want you to take a look at this, all right? We're just going to take that average. We could take it to the peak too. But I was just going by kind of where it averaged out. Around a 65 to 70% move inside of 40 days, all right? Remember that, 65% move, 65 to 70 inside of 40 days. Could we get up there from where we are right now? So that pi cycle, 70% in 40 days, we could. Now you can stretch this out further towards Q4, which tends to be very positive. So Bitcoin can move up even higher from here. And then this percent of a move to the upside wouldn't even be as crazy. And it would line up with Q4. So is a move like this possible? Absolutely. Right? And these moves happen very fast and out of nowhere. Again, 40 days here, you see a 55% move. So just getting back to wherever the all-time highs are, let's move this out to mid-October, okay? 40 days, and there you go. Let's just go 60% right there, give or take. All right, that takes us out to late November. We've seen moves like this before, And let's get rid of the pi cycle here. We've seen moves where all of a sudden Bitcoin just runs. But what happens before that? We get a bit of consolidation. Bitcoin runs, consolidation, right? Even since the bottom. This cycle has repeated this over and over. Big move up, consolidation, big move up, consolidation, big move up, consolidation, over and over. This consolidation was a while. I remember how bearish people were right in here. And it's a great buy the dip opportunity before rate cuts were coming. Big move up, consolidation, a little bit of a dump. Okay, recently, after this move up, all the way back in May, we've been consolidating a while. Had a couple dips, a higher low, higher high. You know, some people might draw this out as a flag. I wonder if we can draw this out as a channel, if you will. It's not going to be a perfect channel, but I'm just looking at the highs and lows here. Okay, so I don't know. Are we going to see more moves up to around 130K? That's possible. So, you know, something to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. It's good to have the moving averages on for this. I was wondering what would happen around that 20-day moving average. And you can see dominance hit it. Right now, the 20-day moving average, until Bitcoin dominance gets above it, this is very bearish, which is good for our altcoins and Ethereum. And I love how Bitcoin dominance is just, it keeps resting and testing on this 100-week moving average right here. When an asset stays above the 50-week moving average, it is still bullish. We broke underneath that, so dominance is bearish. And we are testing that 100-week moving average right here. And not bouncing off it, but really just testing it. You saw on the daily how we're only hitting that 20-day moving average and coming down, so that's very bearish. There's a lot of bearish momentum in Bitcoin dominance. And I think part of the reason for that, let's go to our ultimate RSI. I like this lens. Okay, compared to other cycles, I mean, look at how overbought, if you will, Bitcoin dominance was before the last number of cycles. This time around, Bitcoin dominance was very strong for a very long time. And now we're on the weekly here. Now it's sort of falling off the table. Now, that doesn't mean this is the end, all because it's oversold on the RSI. You can see dominance got very oversold on this fake out move right here. And I'll remind you, the last two cycles, we had a retest near the cycle peak of Bitcoin dominance before we had that rotation. Okay, we had a retest of that area before we got the rotation. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. If you're new here and you're wondering what the hell is Bitcoin dominance, this basically means that 58% of all money in crypto is in Bitcoin. And as I talked about at the start of the video, when Bitcoin has topped, and we just discussed where I believe the potential top is, when Bitcoin is too expensive to keep buying, that is when you get that massive rotation the last two cycles into very cheap altcoins. If you're lucky, your altcoins, and they can go 3x, 5x, 10x, 20x in a few weeks. Now, this only lasts for a few weeks, the last couple cycles. So do be ready for that. Don't fall into the trap of euphoria and be left holding your bags for 4 years. Okay. I knew friends that got into crypto right around here in 2017, and then they just gave up and stopped paying attention. Wall Street bets, if you remember all that stuff, the pump it up days. I knew people, friends, coworkers who got in up here, and they've just been holding ever since. So this is the time to buy, to look at getting value on whatever your crypto assets are, and hopefully it pays off for you. I really do hope that's the case. Let's overlay. We're at Bitcoin dominance. I wonder, should we do, you know what, let's do this. Let's put on Bitcoin. We'll do the bear chart, if you will. Okay, no indicators, anything drawn on this. And we're going to overlay Bitcoin dominance. just to drive the point home. Okay, I want you to watch. Remember what I said about Bitcoin dominance in alt season. Okay, remember what I said. I'll repeat it. Once Bitcoin is too expensive to buy, to keep buying, we get that rotation. The dominance of Bitcoin, which is this pink reddish chart here in the background, that's what tanks. Look where Bitcoin dominance is here in 2017. Okay, and look where the top of Bitcoin is here at 20,000. Okay, when you line those up, Bitcoin dominance was right in the middle. I want to say it's at around 50%, but it tanks to the low 40%. You know, it's probably better. It's actually probably better if I do this the opposite. I apologize. Because I think we need to take a look at the percentages. That matters more here. Let's get back to this. Here we go. 2017. All right, we're on the Bitcoin dominance chart now, and Bitcoin is the red line. Okay, look where Bitcoin is. Bitcoin dominance is at around 58%. And then from that time that Bitcoin topped, the overall percent of money in Bitcoin crashes. Okay, it goes down to the high 30s, 40%. And look at the dates at the bottom here from when Bitcoin tops. The date, December 16th, 2017. Okay, bottoms out early January. So just a few weeks here. Okay, let's measure that out. Just a few weeks. Give or take a touch under 3 weeks. Let's go to 2021 and that alt season right here, okay? Where was Bitcoin topping when we had alt season? Dominance was a little lower, okay? It was right around this area that it tested support way back at the start of that cycle. But where was Bitcoin topping? Right around mid-April, okay? We'll take the middle here. And dominance was at around 55%. Okay, we'll line that up as well as we can. I was even a touch low, but it doesn't matter. Okay, and where does it bottom? 33 days, about a month. So we have two samples here, or 2 bits of evidence last couple cycles, where we have 3 to 4 weeks where we get that alt season, where we get this. Again, once Bitcoin tops and it's too expensive to keep buying, we get that rotation. Bitcoin dominance tanks. Let's go to this cycle. Now, Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance, they move together until they don't, when we get that rotation. Okay, Bitcoin dominance is here on the chart. Bitcoin is just hanging around here. All right. Now, where have we seen dominance in the past fall? Let's actually go to the weekly for this. We've seen dominance in 2017 come down to the high 30s last cycle, right around 40%. So if you want to take a horizontal look, you'd be taking a look at 40%. If you want to take an ascending trend line look, you'd be taking a look at mid 40s. Either way, it doesn't really matter. But we see Bitcoin dominance coming down right now. Okay? Once we are breaking underneath, it's my contention that once we're breaking underneath this area, like it is go time. This is around, let's just say 50%. It's close enough. It is go time. You have to be ready to be taking profits. Now, if you're smarter than that even, and your altcoin does a 10x before any of that, it's okay to take profits then too. You don't have to wait for dominance to get down here, but in the last couple cycles, that is when it happens. Now, I also want to go back to, let's go back to that Bitcoin chart. And let's take a look at Ethereum and Bitcoin dominance. All right. We're going to add on Bitcoin dominance just to drive this home. And we're going to add on Ethereum. I want you to notice something. There's a lot going on. Ethereum is the purple chart. Bitcoin dominance is the pink one. All right. We'll go to 2017. All right. You see where Bitcoin is topping. The pink Bitcoin dominance, you see where that is. Once Bitcoin dominance starts to tank, look at what Ethereum does. Okay? It goes up a ton. Let's go to 2021. You see this cross here, Bitcoin dominance and Ethereum. Ethereum is ripping from that top of Bitcoin, and it has room to go. We can go to Ethereum on the chart, and let's remove, obviously we don't need that. Let's take a look at Ethereum through the lens of Bitcoin dominance. From the time it starts to tank, look at where Ethereum is here. $1,700 and gets as high as 4,300. We'll just take the average of that. Let's just go up a little bit. Let's just say 2,000 to 4,000. Ethereum did about a 2x from when Bitcoin dominance was tanking. Realize this, people. I think a lot of people don't think about this. From where Bitcoin topped, look at Ethereum here. Is that around 400 to 500 bucks, 450, and it did more than a 2x. Okay. Where is Ethereum today? Ethereum today, right now, is at around 4,500. All right. So let's say Bitcoin tops here and we get Bitcoin dominance. It's starting now, falling. Well, we could see if Ethereum did anywhere close to a 2x, we're talking about 9K Ethereum. What? Seems crazy. But for a while, people were very bearish on Ethereum. And I'll tell you why. I'll show you why. People are very bearish on Ethereum because you see how low it was here. It perfectly hit the 100-month moving average, like perfectly. Okay, that was the bottom. People were very bearish on Ethereum because it was underperforming Bitcoin. But once this changed, once Ethereum got way oversold, it was too cheap to ignore. And that's what started phase 2 here. Okay, we are in phase 2. Not quite phase 3 yet. We are in phase 2. And so Ethereum doing very well compared to Bitcoin. And this is one of those things, I think in hindsight, it's just going to smack people in the face when Ethereum gets up to, let's say, 9, 10K. I'm really thinking Ethereum could get up to the level of around 11K, around this 2618 area. And if you think about it, why wouldn't it? Because if it's the number one altcoin, the number 2 crypto overall, if Bitcoin tops at around 200K, do you know what its market cap's going to be? If Bitcoin is around 200K in price, its market cap is going to be close to 4 trillion. 4 trillion. Now Ethereum could be 40% of that. It could be 50% of that. 40% of 4 trillion would be 1.6 trillion. 50% of that would be 2 trillion, obviously, if Bitcoin got up to 200K and 4 trillion market cap. So you're like, how do you know how do you know Ethereum can be 40 to 50% of Bitcoin? How do you know that? How can you say that? Ethereum being 40 to 50% of Bitcoin. Let's compare Ethereum against Bitcoin from the last 2 cycles. Right now it's at 0.24. That means Ethereum is 24% the market cap of Bitcoin. You can double check my math if you want. If you divide 550 into 2300, that is 24%, roughly speaking. Ethereum is 24% that of Bitcoin. That's what 0.24 means. And remember what I said, if Bitcoin gets to 200K, that's a 4 trillion market cap. So let's go with the smaller number, 1.6 trillion. Can Ethereum be worth 40% of that at 1.6 trillion? Well, where is 0.4? 0.4 is right here. In the last 2 cycles, as Ethereum got to 0.4, 40% of Bitcoin. Yeah, both times. Both times on the way to the top. Okay, we'll remove our EMAs. Let's go to the weekly. Ethereum has more than gotten above 0.4. We'll just go with the 786 at 42% here. Okay, let's add on Bitcoin. I want you guys to really take this in. Where does Bitcoin top? And where does that rotation in alt season happen? Right here. Okay, that's why Ethereum, Bitcoin, and phase 2 is so important. That is why I'm really stressing phase 2 here. This is so important to realize, guys, that when we are really seeing Ethereum paired against Bitcoin rip, that's a positive thing. Now, phase 2 can go on for a while where Ethereum is gaining value against Bitcoin. Okay, that's what happened for a while last cycle in 2017. It just happened it bottomed and then it did a V-shaped recovery and then we were done. Crazy times, 2017. Okay, what's been happening this time around? Well, Ethereum paired against Bitcoin, it's just been falling. It kept retesting the 50-week moving average. Okay, never getting above the 50-week bearish. And then it couldn't even get above the 20. And it just fell. It just kept falling. And then it bottomed and we're doing sort of a V-shaped recovery. Right? Now, as you guys can see here, by the way, I can get rid of Bitcoin now. I think I proved my point on Ethereum moving up against Bitcoin. But I drew out this little squiggly line, and I think it could play true that as we're getting this V-shaped recovery, we could get some pullbacks here. Okay, Ethereum paired against Bitcoin tests the 236, comes down a little, moves up. Tested the 382 in the 50-week, two areas to tell if something's bearish or bullish. Excuse me. All right, sounds still good. Got through there. We turned very bullish. Tested the 0.5, the 100-week moving average. A little bit of red there. We could come all the way back down to around 0.2. That is absolutely fine. Actually, I hope so. So we get more dip buying opportunities. And I think that would line up also with seasonality, our almanac perspective as well. So this could happen, or a weaker sort of move. And then move up. And we have the 200-week moving average and the 618. That'll be an important area. Two big areas of resistance, 618 and the 200. We could encounter resistance there again, move down and shoot on up. And if you notice, these lines obviously suck, but if you notice how a move like this could play out, and I think this is even a more delayed set of movements the way I drew it, we get Ethereum topping against Bitcoin sometime in Q1 next year, January or February. I really believe it's not going to take that long. I think it'll probably be shorter. But I'm just trying to give a range, whether it happens in December, November, January, I don't care. We have the metrics and we know what to look for. Let's see. How's the chat doing? Someone commenting about Charlie Kirk. Yes, rest in peace. And then I'm here for the bull run. Aren't we all? We're being patient. And yeah, it's this is what we're waiting for right here as far as Ethereum paired against Bitcoin. So let's go to some other indicators here. Others against Bitcoin. Now this is one of those, I'll say it's a phase 4 indicator, and this one won't run till late, because others is the total market cap outside of all the top 10 cryptos. Okay, when we look at the top 10 cryptos, it's like everything underneath Cardano. You bundle all that together, that's 14% of the market cap compared to Bitcoin. Now, we're at key resistance here, the 50-week and the 0.5. So alts, the lower cap alts, this is promising. This is promising that maybe we can start moving up. And you can see how last cycle, there is a V-shaped recovery from December 2020, January, until we got alt season, which concluded in April of 2021, April to early May. Let's go to 2017. 2017, another V-shaped recovery from December it was really January 8th. That was the end. I was there. I remember. So very short lived. Again, like Ethereum, Bitcoin, like Ethereum, it's just a few weeks. Here, there was really a couple months that altcoins were doing well. Have we started a similar V-shaped recovery where we can see this going? I don't know. I do wonder, like, if we just draw this out, I'll even try to draw it to, let's just do mid-January. Is that too aggressive? May? March? Again, I don't care when alt season is. Alt season can be in December, it can be in March, I don't care. But we've seen big moves, even even more aggressive in the past. All right. Just saying, this stuff can happen quick. It's a euphoric time, and we got to be ready for it. All right, let's take a look at tether dominance. Someone emailed me a good video, and I wish I remembered the name of the person who emailed me, but thank you very much. As well as I want to give credit to the guy who did a video, but there was a guy, I was talking a while back how with tether dominance, okay, tether dominance is good at calling market tops or local tops. We can add in Bitcoin, and we can see here that those local tops line up with where tether bottoms, okay? So tether bottoming, local top. Tether bottoming, local top. Okay, tether bottoming, it's hard to see. That was right before COVID. Tether bottoming, local top. Tether bottoming, you guys get the point. Now, I talked about for a while how tether is a little bit different this time because it's breaking structure just a touch. And this can't go up forever. It's eventually going to regress, like our log regression chart. And what we have going on here, let's remove that, is tether dominance possibly coming back down to around 3.5%. If we take a look at it on the monthly and even add on a moving average, that 100-month moving average is right there at the trend line. I think that's a little too perfect. Okay, the 50-month moving average used to, that was almost support last cycle. I think anywhere near this 100-month, we do want to watch out. So I think this is a good area to watch for a Bitcoin top. And if you're wondering, what the hell is tether? 4.27% of all money in crypto is in tether. Tether has a value of $1. And so if you are risk off and you want to maintain your Satoshi value, you convert your crypto to tether and you always maintain that amount. Now when tether's dropping, people get more risk on, and that's where we have the local tops. But going back to what I was saying before, there's a guy who drew out instead of a trend line here with the bottoms, he drew out a curved line, which I talked about before, how this is matching more of a curve. And he even did it, I think, was it on a log scale? Yeah, he did it on a log scale. Ignore the green arrows. Whereas, like in a log regression, the highs and the lows, it is very well done. I do not have that guy's artistic ability. But overall, and I want to give him credit, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. But overall, we had the same thesis of where tether dominance could be bottoming and where that next potential Bitcoin top will be. So I do think, with these recent lows, as well as that, you turn on the moving averages, as we get near that 100-month moving average and this trend line, that could be a potential top for Bitcoin. And when that could happen, who knows? It could be in December. But again, Tether is probably going to be calling a potential top for Bitcoin, and we do have to be ready for that. Let's take a look at Total 3. You've been watching Total 3 because we are very close to going to new all-time highs. Total 3 topped out here in December 2024. Okay, it did get a little bit above on the weekly. It's just a wick. We're there on the daily. From the last cycle top, you can see we have a fib high to low. Okay, we have not broken that all-time high territory and stayed above. Here's why it's important. When you go to the 2021 cycle, where was total 3? And by the way, if you're wondering what's total 3, it says right there. It's the total market cap of all cryptos outside of Bitcoin and ETH. Where was total 3 at that time? When it broke the former all-time high? Around February of 21. Where was alt season? It was in April to early May, right in here. So once total 3 broke the former all-time high and moved up, we had, I'll go to early May, we had 80 days, so 2.5 months until alt season was done. We are very close to total 3 breaking above. And where would 2.5 months take us? Let's say we break it like in a week or two. All right. We haven't broken it yet, but let's do that 80-day. Again, all because it's 80 days before does not mean it has to happen again. Well, would you look at that? I mean, we could stretch this out even a little further. 80 days would be a move that would end around December 25. December of 25 is a possible top for where we could be having alt season. And why is that important? December of 2025? Well, we talked about this at the start of the video. The 4-year cycle. December 2013. Again, post-halving year. December 2017. 4 years after that. Okay, November 21. 4 years after that. Alt season was here. We had QE. Stimmies, 5 trillion out of thin air. You guys know the story. Okay. December 25, another 4-year cycle. It lines up again. It's so funny how that might just, all the analysis out there, and it's just so funny to me how the freaking same thing might play out 4 times in a row. It's crazy. It's almost like too good to be true in a way, or too simple stupid, that I think a lot of people sort of made it too complicated and lost money on the way going into meme coins and trying to make things a little too complex for themselves. But maybe it is as simple as a 4-year cycle. And again, when total 3 broke, former all-time high, last cycle, when it broke that all-time high, we had around 80 days. Not saying it has to be 80 days. It might be 90. It might be 70. It might be 120. Timing does not have to repeat. But it could be something similar as well. Let's take a look at Ethereum again real quick. Let's do some actual technical analysis on it instead of pairing it against Bitcoin. And by the way, if you have any questions, comments, please put them below. If there's any cryptos you'd like to talk about. Ethereum tested that former all-time high. It did break it, but you can see Heikin-Ashi candles never close above. So we're still down here. We're still underneath the all-time high. The daily, I think, shows better with the moving average sort of riding the 20. And now we're getting more of a, this was more of an impulsive move, smacking into it. And now we've had a little time to consolidate since August. Okay, maybe we're getting ready to actually get into new all-time highs here for Ethereum. Let's take a look at the MACD and stochastic for Ethereum. I can only have 2 indicators on because I do not make enough from YouTube. That's okay. Happy to do this. Happy to do this for free, by the way. We see here the stochastic is coming down, even the MACD coming down, but the moves can still go up, but that does give me concern. Overall in the monthly looks like we still have a lot of room to run. Okay, the monthly I'm very bullish on. You can see we're just a couple bars in. Look where the stochastic was. Okay, let's go back to last cycle. Okay, look how long the stochastic was topped out for, or how long the monthly can go for as we're on our way to the cycle top. So if we are starting one of those big moves, I think the monthly is showing us something nice. But again, I do think Ethereum can get to 11K. I really do. If Bitcoin tops between 150 to 200K, Ethereum could be 40% of that. And if Ethereum Bitcoin, as we just took a look at for a while, is 40% of that, it can have a 1.6 trillion market cap. It can get up to 16K, as crazy as that sounds, or 15K. At 11K, if I bought ETH down here, I'm more than happy to get out there. All right, you got dang near 10x on the number one altcoin. But here are your price targets and areas to watch out for. Let's see, anything else I want to go over? Let's go over some Bitcoin mining stocks and some top large cap altcoins. And then if I see any requests in the comments for certain altcoins to talk about, we'll talk about them. If not, we'll just wrap it up there. Marathon, under a lot of resistance. It is turning a little green. Let's have on the MAC. Return of the MAC. All right, here we go. So the MACD, it was a little negative, and now it's just kind of flattening out. Okay, is this a good area for Mara? I don't hate it. Don't hate it right here. So that's one I've been looking at. Riot, very nice move. It's challenging that 0.5. I think Riot could start to move very fast very soon. And keep in mind, these miners have topped with Bitcoin in the past. Topped with it or just before it. Let's take a look at Chainlink, one of my favorite altcoins. Chainlink, it is in this ascending channel. And yeah, once Chainlink breaks out of this channel, man, I'm very high on it. Let's turn off the MACD, actually. A little too much. I'm very high on Chainlink. Let's go to XRP. We have not taken a look at XRP in a while. Let me get some water. So XRP still at that 1618 area. Do I think XRP can get higher? Absolutely. But I would temper expectations. As far as this next alt season, I'd be taking a look in this area, the $4.65, the $5 to $6 area. And again, I think we have to consider, let's say $6. That's a nice easy 2x right there. If XRP does a 2x, that is a $360 billion market cap. So $360 billion for the number 2 overall altcoin, I could see it. Could it get even higher? Sure. But in my opinion, if you were buying XRP down here at 50 cents, you're buying it for a while, and then you hit a 10x or an 11 or 12x, I'm more than happy to take profits there, especially in the short amount of time it happens. Next, I even think taking profits right now, I'm not saying you have to take everything out, but if you were buying XRP at an average of 50 cents during this massive accumulation phase down here, I do not think it's a bad idea to take 8% of profits. Not telling you what to do. I do think in an alt season, XRP will go higher. I believe that it will. Will it go to $100? Absolutely not. XRP is not going to $100 this cycle. Hate to break it to all the XRP army people who are delusional. XRP it's a great crypto. It's the number 2 overall altcoin for a reason. But it's not going to $100 this cycle. That's ridiculous. It's not doing a 30x from here to get a market cap. What would that even be? A 30x, that would be about 5.4 trillion. You're telling me XRP is going to be worth more than Nvidia? No, it's not going to be worth 5.4 trillion and go to $100. If you see anyone online saying that, unsubscribe, downvote. That is absolute nonsense. It could get $10, sure. That's more believable. $100, absolutely not. Let's go to Solana. We have not taken a look at Solana in a hot minute. And Solana is one, I talked about Solana for a while, is one I don't own any Solana, full disclosure, but I am big on this one. And one of the reasons why is that every cycle there's a new altcoin. I'll give you a couple reasons why. Every cycle there's a new top altcoin that outperforms. That is the darling altcoin. In the 2017 cycle, it was XRP. XRP was the altcoin in 2017. 2021, in my opinion, it was Doge. Elon Musk, Doge to the moon, all that. You probably remember that. Okay. So we've had XRP in 2017, which is still doing well. We had Doge in 2021. This time around, my 2 votes for top altcoin, my number 1 vote is Solana. My number 2 vote is Cardano. I think Cardano is the most upside. Sorry, not Cardano. Take back what I said. Chainlink. I don't know why I just said that. My number 1 vote is Solana. My number 2 vote is Chainlink. I think Chainlink has a way higher ceiling and potential return. But Solana, if there's somewhere I saw it, and I wish I could find it. I looked for it, I couldn't find it. Where over time, it's like a pie chart. And what altcoins, it was just altcoins, and which altcoins are taking up a larger percent of the pie as time goes on. You know which altcoin has been growing the most and eating up most of that pie as this cycle's gone on? It's been Solana. So I think Solana could be the altcoin this cycle. Otherwise, it's a Chainlink. That's my 2 bets. We'll see. So Solana, I mean, it's getting close to getting above its former all-time highs. Man, I remember when we were talking about this, how it perfectly tagged that 200-week moving average as soon as it appeared on the chart, and it's just been going up. And Solana, here's some of your fib extensions, the 1618, 2618, 3618, all the way up there. 240 times 4, 250 times 4 is about 1,000. Can Solana go to 1,000? Wouldn't that be crazy? Let's ask ourselves that question. Could Solana do a 4x from here? What is 4 times this? That'd be 520 billion. Can Solana be worth $500 billion? When I say that out loud, I don't believe the words coming out of my mouth, quite honestly. But I think that $400 billion range to 500, that would be a potential top. I do think that. 300 to 400 billion feels more realistic. And, could Solana get up here around 600? Sure. But yeah, I do think if you're buying Solana over here, at around $1.50, and you got a 4x, somewhere around 600 or to this 2618, I'd be very happy with that. Much higher than that, I think you're being risky. Let's take a look at Binance. Remember when CZ was going to jail? The CEO of Binance, and Binance just, I believe it was somewhere in here. It got down to 240. And we were talking about it's at the 200-week moving average, and it moved under. And I was worried about Binance. Like, is this the death of Binance? Every cycle, there's a very popular death of a top altcoin. In 2017, it was BitConnect. If you've never seen the BitConnect videos, you have some lore to catch up on, and it is really funny. It is hilarious. Type in YouTube, Carlos Matos, BitConnect. There's a 5-minute video where this guy's screaming and saying, hey, hey, hey. It is so funny. That was 2017, and it was a pyramid scheme altcoin. And I saved a friend of mine $10,000. I remember this friend of mine told me, BitConnect, it seems like the best new altcoin. I might put $10,000 in. And I had money in Tron, Cardano, Civic, District, some other ones that didn't do well. I put money into AppCoin. That was one of the dumbest things I ever did. But after he talked about BitConnect, I went home, I did some research, and it was doing well price-wise, but a lot of the research as I was digging, I try to look for good things and bad things. And the good things were, you could just tell when you're reading stuff that's, too good to be true, or the news, it was just head in the clouds, BitConnect's going like 100x, like all this unbelievable. Even I knew it was nonsense. But when I was looking at the news grounded in reality about it, there's a lot of red flags and things about it being a pyramid scheme. And I called my friend. I didn't text him. I called him. I said, do not put your money into BitConnect. Do not do that. About a month later, was it a few weeks or a month, BitConnect famously fell off a cliff. It died. It took the end of the alt season with it. And it just became a meme. And this Carlos Matos guy at BitConnect, again, YouTube, Carlos Matos, BitConnect, you're going to laugh. I watch this video every month. It's so funny. It just died. We had BitConnect die in 2017. We had FTX die this last cycle in 2022. Sam Bankman-Fried stealing money, funds. You heard it all. You probably looked at the news. Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, Tom Brady, and some other pro people lost a bunch of money in it. Okay. And so I bring that up because, we were just talking about Binance, how I was worried, is Binance going to die? We just said FTX, is Binance next? Binance survived, and not just that, it thrived. Okay. So if you were buying the FUD on Binance at around 230, you've done almost a 4x from here. So if you believed in Binance, good for you. I was not touching it. I was not encouraging people to touch it. And that's okay. There's always another play out there. This 1618 near 990, watch for that. Could it get up to 2618 around 1500? Or this 2618 to 3618 area, could it do a 2x from here? Can Binance do a 2x, and be worth $260 billion? I think that's very reasonable for Binance. But going back to what I was saying, every cycle there's a major top crypto that dies. We have BitConnect. Okay, we had FTX or FTT coin, whatever it was. Okay, what's the next one? Is it Binance? I think Binance survived. I think it survived the hit job. The top 10 or top 15 overall alt that I'm most worried about is this one right here. And I've been worried about for a while. I was one of the first Tron buyers. Tron was my number one altcoin in 2017. I got lucky. I remember reading about it on Reddit, and I wish I would have put more money into it because it was my top performer. I didn't sell the top, of course, because the euphoria got to me. I was not as powerful as I am now. Joking. But I was dumber back then. I'll just say that. I still got massive profits, but man, I could have had a lot more. I remember looking at my wallet, my crypto wallet, and being like, oh my God, is this going to keep going? Could I make, $1 million? And then, it got really high at one point and then just fell off a cliff on January 8th, 2018. Never forget that day. But yeah, I got great profits, could have had amazing profits. But when I started looking more and more into Tron, and you can do a lot of searches on a guy, the head of Tron, his name's Justin Sun. The more you research into him, the more of a dirtbag and a scammer you will find him to be. Okay? There's a lot of shady stuff surrounding Justin Sun and Tron. My number one vote my number 1 and 2 vote for altcoins to really underperform and even die are these two right here, Doge and Tron. Not saying they can't do well this cycle. I think Doge and Tron can both do very well this cycle, but I would be wary of those two. Okay? They can still do well. Actually, let's take a look at Doge. All because there's shady stuff surrounding it does not mean it's time to love the dancing Doge. So Doge, by the way, where's it at right now? Countering resistance there at its 618. Gets through that, man. That's going to be very good for Doge. It'll get back up to that 42 cent area. But Doge overall, I like what it's doing. Okay, we have its levels. Can Doge hit its one? If Doge gets to its former all-time high or 1618, like I'm out completely in this area. I was getting Doge down here at around 7 to 9 cents. Okay, not a ton of Doge, but I was buying down here because I thought, it's too good of an accumulation phase. And so I think the profit taking area is between 42 to $1.16. Anywhere in there, I think, is good profit taking. But yeah, Doge. What is Doge? Does it do anything? Absolutely not. And from what I've researched, it's even deflationary. Not as much as they make it out to be, but Doge, I don't know. I don't think it's going to do as well as it did in 2021. I could be wrong. I mean, people were hating on XRP for a while when it's at 50 cents. Even I was questioning it. Now, I was more so hating on the price targets that people are saying, $100, $10,000 XRP. That's what I was really hating on. But XRP, it's the number 2 overall altcoin, the number 3 overall crypto. So is Doge going to be ironic and pump again for no reason? We'll see. Tron, for all the things I was just saying about being careful with Tron, one thing you can't deny is that its chart looks really nice by just how it's grinding up. It got higher than 18 cents here. I was there. It was like in the mid 20s. It was actually at the 1618, almost 26 cents. I think it got around 24 back in 2017. For a moment, I remember watching the chart when it did. But right now, I mean, it's a very strong looking crypto, but this is the one I think post cycle top bull run, I would be worried about Tron the most. It seems every cycle, we had Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX going down. We had BitConnect before that. My number one vote for a possible top crypto to die in an amazing way after this cycle's done is Tron. Tron is the one I'm going to say be careful of. Not that you can't make great profits, and man, look how good this chart is. There are so many crappy charts. Even XRP, it was just chopping around for a while. This thing's just been grinding up. How can you not love that if you've been putting money into Tron? But again, that's crypto. All because there's some red flags does not mean it can't pump. That's crypto for you. Let's go to Cardano. Oh my God, I typed in the wrong one. Here we go. We have not stretched out our fib in a while. There we go. Cardano making support at the 0.5 fib. I like that. It is very close to getting to that 618. And you can see in the past when Cardano starts to take off, it can go vertical with alt season. And are we somewhere kind of right here? I do think it's possible. Why? Here we go. We got 2017 in there. I was hoping we could get a little bit more. But, yeah, Cardano, if we line those tops out, I do wonder, Cardano, let me go back for a second. Last alt season in 2021, there were altcoins that did well, such as Bitcoin Cash, XRP in 2017, that did not put in new all-time highs in 2021. Cardano is one of the top altcoins that still put in a new all-time high last cycle. Okay, now if you draw a fib out from that cycle, from the 2017 high to the low in 2020, you can see it got between the 1618 and 2618. Okay, got between there. Again, fibs, they don't have to be perfect, but if you're selling around that 1618 or above it, great. Okay, so it did put in a new all-time high. You draw a high to low this time. If Cardano again puts in a new all-time high, the 1618 to 2618, we're talking about $5 Cardano from here of 5x. That sounds pretty awesome. So Just something to consider. But it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, again, every cycle there are top altcoins that do not go back above their former all-time high. Doge obviously did great. I remember making fun of Doge with someone in 2017. Now who's the dummy? But it's one of those things that's like too stupid and it actually worked. But if we go to XRP, let's do this one. No, that's not the one I was looking for. XRP. This one? Here we go. XRP, you see that all-time high here in 2018, okay, during alt season. 2021, it got to the 786, okay? Obviously, it's back to those former all-time highs. This is something to consider right here, folks. If you were to draw a massive fib from that all-time high to that low, let's get rid of this one. We truly haven't broke up. If you take a look at this as a massive fib, I'm just noticing this for the first time. That 1618 at 567, I think that's a great target. 2618, if you want to go balls to the walls with it, risk it for the biscuit, all that stuff. Two great targets here. Two great targets. Yeah. 3618, the 2618, me personally, I'd be getting out completely. But we were just talking about cryptos that did not make new all-time highs. Bcash. I just remember the guy flipping off the dude who kept calling it Bcash. That's another fun old video. Bcash. He was so pissed. BCH. There's an older chart out there. Is it the Coinbase one? No. You might have to trust me, bro, on this, even though I don't like doing that. Where is the right chart? BCHN. BCH. We might have to give up on this one. You'll have to trust me, bro, on it. I'll give this one more try. Bitcoin Cash only got back up to its 786. Here we go. All right, cool. We found it. So you have to go to the Bitstamp one. But this one only got up to its 786 from that high to low. Did not put in new all-time highs. Yeah, didn't even hit its 786. Okay, so I just bring that up to let you know this time around in 2021, or from 2021, there are going to be altcoins during this next alt season that will not make new all-time highs. So we can talk about where some of these might top. Cardano, Doge, who knows? There are going to be altcoins that do not get above their 786. They might wick above there, and you might sell, above that wick if you time it right. But there are going to be some. I remember how big Bitcoin Cash and XRP was in 2017, and a lot of people were very upset with them in 2021. Let's talk about Litecoin. Litecoin upset a lot of people last cycle. This has been and then it tried to. They were doing something stupid where, on Litecoin Twitter, they're like, we identify as a meme coin. I'm like, well, any respect I even had for you, I've lost now. Like, I'm not touching Litecoin. People are very disappointed by Litecoin. Now, you see this, I have a trend line in there. It's not really anything. But it didn't even really get above its former all-time high. So if you're buying Litecoin at the 382 at $70, and you're like, you know what? If it just gets back up to its former all-time high like it did last time, and I get a 5x, 5 to a 6x, and I'm fine. All right. Like, I'm not going to Not going to fault you for that. If you feel that you have more consumer confidence in this getting back there. I mean, I've seen some crazy Litecoin predictions. People talking about how it's just been in a massive accumulation phase since 2017. That's just going to rocket up. Could it? You never know. 1618, here's some of your targets to look for. Could it go way beyond that? Could Litecoin do over a 10x? Let's remember that Litecoin, here's its market cap, 9 billion. A 10x is 90 billion. So if all of a sudden Litecoin is a chosen one doing dang near 10x and it's going up here, I mean, I don't know which altcoins are going to run, but there are some I feel better about than others, and I could be wrong. Again, Link is the one I'm most excited for. It does not mean anything, okay? But all the research I've done of the top 20 altcoins, Litecoin to me has the highest floor combined with highest potential. And when I look at XRP, Cardano, I think they have a high floor, a high safe floor, but I don't see as high of a return potential as I do with Chainlink. Again, when I'm taking a look at the top 20-ish altcoins. Okay, so anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend. Take care.